Well, I have to say, I wasn't expecting this kind of turn of events, Renee's father said, sitting at his desk, beginning to clasp his fists together tightly. What? Are you saying that you actually believe that guy? That me and Renee are his old buddies, back from the dead? I'm sorry to inform you, Victor, but he didn't lie about anything. The passage of souls back into the realm of the living is common knowledge for those who know of it, who have researched into life and death. But that doesn't even make any sense, I replied, still confused and frustrated about the entire thing, probably still amped up from dying, even though I didn't, or maybe I did, I thought to myself. But it doesn't make sense, I said. Why would my powers be something that shows me some previous lifetime? I thought Salvera Reaper had mastery over death. Yes, he did. But tell me, what exactly do you believe death is, Victor? Death is simply a natural process within life. Things are born into this world, they grow old, and they die. Regardless of how long the timeline of this is, it always happens. Even stars that live billions of years eventually fade, growing old and dying, exploding into a supernova or collapsing into a black hole. Regardless of which happens, eventually the star does die. In comparison to the lifetime of a star, the lifetimes that we as human beings live are piddling and short. Even us werewolves, with our massively extended lifetimes, are but a blink, if even that, in comparison to the lifetime of a planet, a star, a solar system. And many assume that death is simply an end, the end of the natural course of events. But that's not true. Death is a gateway to new life. When an animal dies, regardless of whether it is devoured or whether it is simply left to rot, it sustains new life, giving nutrition to what eats it, or to the soil it rots upon, filling it with life. There is no life without death, and no death without life. The two are part of a delicate balance that maintain each other. One could even say that death and life are one and the same, one simply leading into the other, always. So, it's possible that within the realm of abilities that Reapers possess, it is possible that they can track the death and life cycle of any soul. If that's the case, then it's also possible that Salvera Reaper could have obtained this power after devouring Reapers. The power to track a soul through the progress of life and death, through the cycles that souls travel. In this case, you tracked your own, the passage from your soul from one life to the next, through the gateway of death itself. But you're saying that doesn't bother you? That your daughter might just be Brooklyn Scott's old bestie? And why should it? He said, staring at me with a focused look. Tell me, is the fact that Renee had some previous life supposed to take away from the one that she had here? Does it make her birth any less precious to me? Would me coming to love all the little things about her, a personality, the look on her face when she's happy, the way she gets when she's a little upset with you, that little crinkle in her nose, The things she does when she thinks that no one's paying attention. All of the wonderful things that I have spent my entire life with Renee getting to know and love, that I watched grow and develop in her. You expect me to believe that all of those things are meaningless, simply because they're part of her from some previous lifetime? That makes them less hers? That she is in some way less because of it? Absolutely not. Whether Renee lived a past lifetime or not doesn't matter to me. What matters is the lifetime she lives now, the one in which she is my daughter. That is what holds value to me, what holds importance. But I believe we are getting sidetracked. There are other things to discuss, primarily these other abilities that you have developed. And now we have yet another on top of it. Your skills are developing rapidly. It makes no sense. Werewolves' ability to tap into their natural wolven skills, the ones that are carried in their blood, it usually takes much longer. And yet yours seem to be flooding in rapidly. It doesn't fit. It's as if there's something forcing forward your development. Some force that I'm unaware or unknowledgeable of. But what and why? Mr. Hollowfield said as he got up from his seat, beginning to pace around his office a bit. It doesn't make sense. Why is all of this happening so rapidly? Is some outside force truly responsible? It was at that point that I was reminded of that creepy-ass dream, the figure behind me. Mr. Hollowfield, I said, with a serious tone, still glancing down at the floor. Tell me, is it possible for a reaper to affect the living in other ways than just killing them? He stopped pacing for a moment to look over at me, uncrossing his arms. Why do you ask? Well, the first time that I ended up in the Reaper's realm, well, the only time. Honestly, I'm really not looking forward to a return trip, on the chance that they might not welcome me with open arms. But that time that I went there in my dreams, a figure, a very frightening figure, appeared behind me as I was peering at one of the candles. And not only did he appear behind me, he called me out, saying that I took my time and referring to me as a descendant of Salvera Reaper. Is it possible that he's the one pushing this development, forcing my powers to show up rapidly? Could he actually do that? Mr. Hollowfield looked concerned for a moment as he tried to think it over. To be honest, I don't know. From what I know and understand about Reapers, I don't understand how we would benefit. Reapers are powered by the forces of death, gaining strength for the souls that they are bestowed power over, influencing the moment and time of their passing, and in doing so, gaining a fraction of the power that is produced in the moment of their death, when they pass from one life into the next. There is no time in the afterlife. Future, present, past all exist within one infinite spectrum, at least within the maelstrom of souls, the soul stream, as it were. So, quite frankly, I don't understand what a Reaper could hope to gain by influencing the powers of a living person. They gain power from a being's death, not their life. But then again, you are a descendant of Salvera Reaper, whose powers and abilities are connected with death. And so, perhaps, that is the gateway, what it wishes to take advantage of. If this Reaper that you speak of is your Reaper, the one deemed responsible for your eventual death, then it's possible that he could also gain some measure of power from the use of your abilities, or perhaps even somehow accelerate your death by forcing you to use your abilities or skills. To be honest, there are simply too many options as to what it could be. And I don't know enough about the specifics of exactly how Reapers gain power from death, how they sustain themselves, and why. The motives of a Reaper are not something that I am familiar with. Their emotional state, their consciousness, their outlook on things and nature, the balance between life and death. Is it simply a game to them, or is it more like their religion, their belief? Do they simply loiter over death as a natural instinct, the way a predator hunts a prey, the way a lion stalks a gazelle? Or is there more intent than that, more will? All of these things are questions that I quite frankly don't have an answer for as of yet. So, you two are going to do your best to stay out of trouble. Refrain from using your abilities, and tell me absolutely anything that develops from this point forward. Any change at all, no matter how small, could be vital, even to your very survival, Victor. I'm going to begin contacting people, trying to dig up whatever information I can on Salvera Reaper that might not be included within the text of the Werewolf Bible, as well as looking into the intricacies of death and Reapers. Hopefully I can find some measure of information that might prove useful. In the meantime, I'll do as Brooklyn Scott asked, and I'll give you his contact information. I don't know why he wishes you to have it, other than you might have some sort of previous life connection with him. But it could prove advantageous nonetheless. But be on your guard. He may have liked you in a previous life, but it has been an exceptionally long time since those moments of old, giving him plenty of time to grow cold and distant. Even those he once saw as his closest friends could be nothing more than bargaining chips for him now. So be wary of everything he says and does. Do not step foot into traps easily. Don't welcome them. I'm also concerned about Brooklyn Scott's previous involvement with the Illuminati. Really? I mean, those guys are really real? I thought that was just some conspiracy nonsense. Well, most of what people believe about the Illuminati is conspiracy nonsense. Ages ago, the Illuminati were exceptionally powerful, having their fingers in just about everything. They were a religious order that became militant, but the Illuminati have since been basically annihilated. They bit off more than they could chew. Now, what remains of them is scattered, small, weak. They're few in numbers, and don't truly tend to act on anything. They are not the all-consuming conspiracy that people believe they are, though at one point in time they may have held such status and sway. But the Illuminati had a very single-minded objective, their members as well, and did not look favorably upon the monstrous races, werewolves, vampires, and alike. If that is the well from which Brooklyn springs, then it is cause for concern, and somewhat changes my perspective on the man. And here I thought he was so simple. I never expected him to be a paladin, but it does make sense. Paladins were trained fighters, warriors for God, or so they thought themselves, and those who served under the Illuminati had a single-minded devotion to the destruction of the monstrous races. It's hard to believe that one of them could be changed into a werewolf or a vampire and still decide to keep living. It brings to mind many questions, but for the time being, we'll have to stow them. Just remember what I told you, and I'll get to work on seeing what I can find out about your new virgining abilities.